Chris Eubank Jr., free agent. Will you explore working with him?
Everyone's going to want to work with Chris Eubank Jr. He's a massive star. Like I've said it a few times, probably in the top 4 names in British boxing. I think there's lots of opportunities for him. There's lots of big fights to be made. The fight I'm focused on making, and I have been focused for a long time, is the Conor Benn fight. I'm sure that fight will happen sometime soon.
Oh.
Well, no, sometime.
Huh. Now, he's more or less leaked it that he's been negotiating with Chris to make this Conor Benn fight. They haven't given up on it. Then he tried to clean it up. But Parsons, he twigged it. Frank let the cat out of the bag, didn't he? He let the cat out of the bag. Now, we all know Frank is either married, dating, or shacking up with Eubank's sister. And he probably has a decent relationship with Chris. Chris has just left the Sowlands. And I'm doing a bit of guesswork. I'm going to imagine that Conor Benn is going to be licensed to fight this year. In the United Kingdom, possibly late summer. And now Chris is free of all promotional ties. He can just make a deal with MATCHROOM to make that fight. And make an absolute fortune independently as a free agent. Can't be mad at that.
And you can't beat that with a bat.
I'm still in the street. Listen, I'm still in the street, and if I see your kids, wait a minute. If I see your kids, wait a minute.
Not even be in the streets. But listen, I ain't coming up in no suburbs, Bill.
Listen, wait a minute, but I'm still...
Yeah, it's nothing to glorify. I kind of get what you're saying, but when people make a point, try and make a point, yeah, I'm still in the streets, when the sums of money that you and your son are making run up into millions and millions of pounds. What are you in the streets doing exactly? Handing out turkeys? What's there to do in the streets when you've got millions of dollars in your pocket? Unless you just haven't grown up.
31 and can't give his youth up. He's in his second childhood.
At the end of it, if you're amongst people who ain't got nowhere near what you have, resentment, jealousy, somebody's going to want to lean on you. Some people are actually going to step to you with the burners, and you're done. The police, they're going to want to know, why are you here? It's not logical. It's not logical. You got no business being there. You can help the hood from a distance. That's what you can do. But actually being in there, it's pointless. The shocking thing about this story I'm about to cover is a story of 9 or 10 fighters who TMT, the money team, still have on their website as if they're signed to them. But the truth is, the only one of them who's fought this year is Rolly Romero. And when I say this year, I mean as a TMT fighter. Rolly is the only TMT fighter who has fought on a TMT promoted card this year. Tank Davis is no longer TMT, as far as I know. And going by the back and forths that him and Floyd have been in the last few days, only seems to confirm that.
It's a wrap.
The likes of Malik Warren, Dorian Khan, ZHANIBEK Rachmanov, Kevin Johnson, Luis Arias, Mickey Scala, all their last 2 or 3 fights have been with other promoters. The likes of Adrian Benton hasn't fought since 2022. Mickey Scala, he hasn't fought on a TMT card for a couple of years. Andrew Tabiti still on the website. He hasn't fought there since 2018. JALIL HACKETT, a welterweight, has announced that he's a free agent today. JALIL's been there since 2021. He only fought once in 2022. 2023 he got 3 fight dates. And he hasn't been offered no dates for the start of the year. So he's a free agent. Back in 2021, JALIL said when he signed, he wanted to sign with somebody who looked like him, meaning a black promotion. Now, I could comment, but how old was he when he signed? He was 17, 18, he was a kid. I don't even think that JALIL was up for release yet. So he asked Mayweather and Ellaby, yo, what's up? And it was amicable, and they agreed to let him go. What are you going to do? He's a 20-year-old kid with a baby. He needs to make money. JALIL was asked what promoters he would consider. Now he's a free agent.
Right now, recently becoming a free agent, I've got a lot of different shouts, a lot of different texts and DMs and so on and so forth. But as of today, while we're doing this interview, I do have a top 4. The number 1 spot for me right now that I feel like would be best for my situation would be MATCHROOM.
Leonard Ellaby had to take a knee the other day and give props to Eddie Hearn.
You also got to give Hearn credit too.
Okay. So
yeah. Again, I'm not a hater. I'm not. That's one thing I'm not. A lot of people take things the wrong way.
For him to say that took a lot. It means he's got one eye open that he might have to jump off the ship with the rest of the fighters who were jumping off the ship.
You want a job, buddy? Sure, Tony. Okay, then you call me tomorrow.
There's lots of stories about Mayweather being stuck out in Dubai involuntarily. It looks like a wrap.
It's a rap.
John Ryder, who has lost to both Jaime Munguia, he lost to him in January and he lost to Canelo in 2023. He's retired now. He believes that Jaime Munguia will open up a lead, but Canelo will come back and win the fight. Although he was stopped by Munguia and took Canelo the distance, he believes that the Canelo fight took a lot out of him, suggesting don't read too much into Munguia stopping him and Canelo not stopping him. Sometimes I wonder, when fighters lose, do they sometimes put too much stock into things like what John Ryder said? Oh, the Canelo fight took too much out of me, so don't look too much into that. Is he overlooking how much Jaime may have improved under the tuition of Freddie Roach? You have a feeling that despite the improvements Jaime may have made, a really good technician will exploit when he gives up his height, extends over his lead knee, all that good stuff. Technician like Derevyanchenko, who, if it wasn't for that inactivity before they fought, could have been an upset win. You know, Jaime pulled out that last round. It could have been a 10-7 round on some of the judges' scorecards. He knocked him down with a body shot, and it was an onslaught the final round. Really good fight. But if he gets off to a start like that against Canelo, like let's say John Ryder's wrong, and Canelo gets off to a good start, does Jaime get back in the fight? I think not. Canelo is a very good technician. We'd have to say a better fighter than Derevyanchenko, who is an excellent fighter. But there's similar dimensions physically. And Jaime may feel pressure to put out a lot of volume to compensate for his lack of punch quality in comparison to Canelo. And that's where he could come unstuck. Canelo will find the gaps and he will find the holes. If you throw a load of punches and leave yourself open, Canelo will find the gaps and find the holes. Make no mistake. At the same time, it's a timing thing. Derevyanchenko was 37 and inactive. Canelo is 33. Jaime is 27. Canelo's had a lot of hard battles, a lot of hard training camps. He looked good against Jamel last time out, who fought like he just wanted his check and he didn't want no trouble.
We don't want no problems, B.
Jaime, however, will be in there with a lot more ambition. He's naturally bigger than Jamel, and he's possibly the best we've seen him right now. He's just got to get everything right. Don't throw too little, but don't throw too much. Throw a little caution to the wind, but be mindful of your gas tank. But I picked Canelo because Jaime needs circumstances. He needs Canelo to have deteriorated a whole lot. He needs to bank on things like that. He needs to hope that Canelo is overlooking it. Doesn't have the same ambition that he may have had previously. We haven't seen Canelo really hurt in the ring since Miguel Cotto's little brother tagged him with some hard shots, and that's years ago. That's way over a decade we're talking. Maybe Saturday, Canelo gets hit with some hard body shots, some left hooks. Jaime can throw some hard lefts to the body. All of a sudden, Canelo doesn't want it like that. Maybe gets hit with a headshot and Jaime hurts him. You know, like, I think this is one of the tougher fights Canelo has had in recent years. I do believe that. But Canelo against a fellow Mexican, Cinco de Mayo and all of that good shit, he's going to want to put on a performance, and I think he will. But I think it's going to be a very tough fight. Very tough fight. That takes a lot out of Canelo as well. Especially if Munguia can get to his body. Canelo on points. Guess I'll have to make that pay-per-view purchase. Becoming a regular thing now, DAZN. But, you know, they're for good fights, so I can't really complain. Brandon Figueroa versus Jesse Magdaleno at featherweight. Mario Barrios versus Fabian Madonna. Mantis Stanionis versus Gabriel Maestro. Some good fights on there. Some good fights. Jared Anderson, a little overrated. Really shouldn't be waiting till August the 3rd for a potential Wilder fight. He needed to be back in the ring after that fight with the Belgium guy who spoiled, made himself a difficult target. He needed to be back in the ring a month after that. What punishment did he take? These are young fighters. Joshua's achieved twice as much as he has. Twice unified champion. Joshua ain't got no belts right now, and Joshua's been more active than he has. And he's nearly, 10 years older than him? or whatever it is. No one can give me any reason why he's not fighting more regular. Nobody. And these fighters are getting it too easy, and that's why we're not seeing them realise their potential. And at 24, he can do that. He should be able to have that fight he had against the Belgium guy, and we see him back in the ring in a month. There should be no reason why this isn't happening. And now it's just like, okay, if Wilder can get past Zhang on June the 1st, you get this big fight with Wilder. Well, there's a lot of ifs, isn't there? Yeah, it's a good fight. It's a good fight, but he needs momentum. Or he's just going to look shit in the big fights. What, are we expecting that all of a sudden the goods are just going to be produced? It doesn't work like that. There's a process that has to be adhered to. All the greats from yesteryear had a lot of fights in succession when they wasn't under pressure to have mandatories or there'd be promotional or network deadlines on them. Wilder, okay, he didn't beat good competition while he was champion, he didn't. But nevertheless, he had a lot of fights before he got to Stavern. And a lot of them were bums. But he needed these fights. And he did become champion. Can't knock that. There's pictures of Jared Anderson with the Sheik. And he's getting just what he wants, money. That's all he's fighting for is money. He either said he didn't have to fight for a world title or win one to get at the money. Listen, if he can produce in the ring, it's all good. Even if Wilder loses, he should still be fighting somebody like Wilder, regardless. So if Joshua is coming back in September, that kind of shuts down Wilder and Joshua, one way or the other. If Zhang knocks Wilder's head off, or if Wilder wins, he's going into this Jared Anderson fight. Joshua's going to fight for the title. Joshua put it out there that, he could fight any one of the 4 on June the 1st, and that is still a distinct possibility. But he's either going to fight Tyson Fury, Fury can win, or he's going to take on the winner of Dubois and Hrgovic on June the 1st. That's the schedule. Couple of potential fights in the making. They're talking about JANIBEK Alan Canelo versus Carlos Adames. Adames, he holds the WBC little belt, and Alan Canelo holds the WBO and IBF straps. Carlos Adames has asked for this fight for a little while, and JANIBEK was looking for bigger names, which haven't materialized. So hopefully Bob Arum gets on his game and gets this made. I mean, it's not like Adames can rely on Al Heyman to do shit for him right now. Carlos Adames said yesterday, I heard that if Canelo won, he would face Jamal in September. Let's be clear, in a month, it will be 3 years since he defended his title. He spent 2 years dodging me. It sounds like something he could take the WBC to court for and be successful. Has he spoke to any legal people about his position as the mandatory contender for how long? I don't know. I'm not saying he's been a mandatory for 3 years, but he's been mandated for a little while, and Jamal hasn't defended that belt for 3 years. Can't be right. Can't be right. Earlier this year, Oscar announced that Jose Ramirez versus Ryan Garcia was basically signed. Ryan came out and said, the fight's not happening, that fight's not happening. I don't know if he does that to make Oscar look stupid, like he doesn't know what he's doing or he has no control of the situation. And the fight didn't happen. About a week and a half after Ryan's trending victory against Devin Haney, and shortly after Ramirez beat Rance's Barthélemy, Eric Gomez has suggested this would be a good fight. And this time Ryan hasn't come out and said it's not happening. I think Ryan could knock Jose Ramirez out, but I could also see Ramirez beating Ryan up down the stretch with that relentless body attack and high work rate he has. It's a very good fight. And if that doesn't happen, you know what fight Golden Boy should make? Is Ramirez versus Oscar Duarte. That's a very good fight. I won't be shocked if Ryan tries to fight Jojo Diaz or somebody. But Ryan would probably insist in having it at 143 or welter. Frank Warren asked if there's any updates on the Anthony Yarde situation. He said he's had a couple of discussions off the record without being prejudiced, so he can't really go into that. I hope it can be resolved. His team have their position and Frank has his position. Common sense must prevail. When Frank was asked had the situation progressed since he and the interviewer last spoke, he said no. A very abrupt no. He said it's a shame. He said he could look Anthony Yarde in his eye and tell him that he's always had his best interests at heart and will continue to do so. He said it's not the first time that promoter and fighter have had this type of situation. And he said he's had a few. He said not a lot. He's had a few. No, you've had a lot. That's a lie. And he said, if you look at the autobiographies of most of the fighters, or the testimonies of most of the fighters he's worked with, they all say they wish it never happened. As to say, Frank was in the right. And that's not true either. That's not true. That's a lie. That's a lie. He said Yarde is being badly advised. He didn't say by who, but Tunde Ajayi is his management. But he said Yarde's not 20, he's over 30. You know what I mean? He's conscious of what he's doing. I'm paraphrasing. He said if Anthony wants to pick up the phone and talk to him privately without no one getting involved, he's always there. As for the BUATSI fight, Frank said he can't see them hanging around, sitting around waiting for that. And I think at this stage, Tunde and Yarde fancy themselves as free agents. They don't need Frank. They'd probably like to negotiate a BUATSI fight without Frank getting money that they don't think he needs to get. And that's fair enough. Let's see what happens in the courts. That's fair enough. I think it's a similar situation with Eubank, who we spoke about earlier. I don't think he totally wanted to negotiate that Benn fight with the Saudis, getting a piece of it when the fight's likely going to end up on DAZN. They're going to be doing all the promoting, the marketing, etc. And Eubank is seeing it like, what is Cali and Nice getting paid out of this for? So everybody fancies themselves a free agent right now. We got Dillian, you got Fabio Wortley. Chris is talking about up-and-coming fighters getting themselves solid legal and management teams, and make sure you only work with promoters that align with your vision, goals and dreams.
I found out what I was going through was kind of like an identity crisis. I'd done a bit more research on it now. It's a thing called the dark night of the soul. And so that's exactly what I was going through. I don't know what it was while I was going through, but just the other day I was talking to my brother and he said, oh, it sounds like you went through something called the dark night of the soul. And I'd done some research on that, and that's exactly what it was. I was losing my identity. I was disconnected from my old self. I didn't see boxing the way I did before. For the first time in my life, I saw the violence. I saw the violence in the sport, and I couldn't separate the two anymore. The sport is the sport, but the sport is violent.
Junior Farr, 34 years of age, 20 wins, 11 inside the distance, 3 losses, the last of which was to Frank Sanchez via stoppage on the 12th of December last year on the Day of Reckoning in Riyadh. So he withdrew from a May date in Canada where he would have fought Arslanbek Makhmudov, who also was stopped on the Riyadh card last year because of this dark night of the soul experience that he has been through. He's trading pugilism for philosophy, peace and veganism. Can't be mad at that. Can't be mad at that at all. Boxing is a very violent sport. But this dark night of the soul philosophical theory perhaps could be simplified by just telling it like it is. He was knocked out badly by a way past his expiry date, Lucas Brown. He was more than likely experiencing this dark night of the soul thing from back then, but now he's finally made the decision. Enough is enough. I looked down at my fists, says Junior Farr, probably New Zealand's second best heavyweight boxer, and said to myself, why am I doing this? I don't want to hurt people anymore. He described the feeling as perhaps anxiety. He wasn't sure what was happening. And yeah, when you're on the end of beatings like that, it brings your own mortality much closer to you. If you have a winning record, for instance, you probably will have more empathy for those you've beaten up after you've took a few beatings. The question is, and only he can answer that, honestly, is Junior getting out of boxing because he doesn't want to hurt people no more? Or does he himself just not like getting hurt himself? 2021 is when he stepped up, and he's had 4 fights from then, and he's only won 1 fight from 4. And that was against someone with a 0-6-0 record. Show me the heavyweight who is scoring stoppages with a winning record. Not necessarily unbeaten, but is on a good winning run. Ranked. Ready to get in title contention. Is making good money. And is improving. Who gives up because of dark night of the soul? He's not a stupid man. He knows he was brought in to face Makhmudov in Canada to be a sacrificial lamb. Probably made a decent purse from Riyadh last year. And there's other things he can do. Rather than go to Canada for probably a fraction of what he earned in Saudi Arabia and take an absolute shellacking when his confidence is at an all-time low. Hey, he's making the right decision. Don't get me wrong, he's making the right decision. But dark night of the soul to me is, what's the point in getting my head punched in when I'm not that good and I'm not getting paid anywhere near what I think I should be getting paid for taking the beating? Let's keep it real. I'm being frank, I'm not being disrespectful to him. It's probably coming over a little like that, but it's not. But he says he doesn't want to hurt people no more, but let's keep it real. It's not like he's got control of that. He's not beating legit top 10 heavyweights. He can't hurt them. This is what you call rationalizing. That's what he's doing. And sometimes that's the only way we can get through situations in life, is to rationalize and perhaps tell ourselves a few porkies to cushion the impact of what's real. Let's say in 2021 he beat Joseph Parker, he beat Lucas Brown, and then he beat Frank Sanchez. He'd be in line for a title shot. He'd have a seat on the Riyadh table again. His purses would be huge. Does that guy get Dark Night of the Soul premonitions? Probably not. Could do, but probably not. And with that,
I'm gone. Ghost, peace, sayonara.